women are strong too. And it made me think about this title. The title of my lesson is Women Who Strengthen the Kingdom. And I wanted to talk about this because it's something I've been reading in my quiet time. And I think that we cannot underestimate how important it is to be a woman in God's kingdom. Our role, what we do, is so pivotal in building up God's kingdom. And for us right now, the task is building up the kingdom here in Denver. And everyone here needs to have a role and a part in doing that. And I wanted to give some background. So I've been reading through the Old Testament. I read the Bible every year. And right now I read the Chronicles and the Kings together because they talk about the same thing. And so I like to keep it in order. And as we know, if you guys know King David, right? He had Solomon, wisest man, wrote the Proverbs, all that, incredible. And then he did tank it, and he got caught up and was incredibly lustful and was led astray by all these women and started worshiping other gods. And God told him, I'm going to take the kingdom away from you. But because your father was David, I'm not going to do it in your lifetime. I'm going to do it in your son's lifetime. And that's King Rehoboam, which is Solomon's son. And then when Rehoboam becomes king, that's exactly what God does. He takes the kingdom away, but he spares Judah and Benjamin, so leaving Rehoboam the southern kingdom, and this man, Jeroboam, he takes the northern kingdom, the other lost 10 tribes of Israel. So there becomes a big split with the kingdom. Basically, anyone could do whatever they want, but he was saying this is for God. And so he created pagan worship, and he led the whole 10 tribes astray. This is where we're at right now. And so let's pick it up right here in 2 Chronicles chapter 11. I don't think this is very far off to where we're at right now. Not in the church, but spiritually and with what Christianity looks like today. So in 2 Chronicles 11, it says in verse 13, in the midst of all this, it says, the priests and Levites from all their districts throughout Israel sided with him. The Levites even abandoned their pasture lands and property and came to Judah and Jerusalem because Jeroboam and his sons had rejected them as priests of the Lord when he appointed his own priests for the high places and for the goat and the calf idols he had made. Those from every tribe of Israel who set their hearts on seeking the Lord, the God of Israel, followed the Levites to Jerusalem to offer sacrifices to the Lord, the God of their ancestors. They strengthened the kingdom of Judah and supported Rehoboam, son of Solomon, 3 years, following the ways of David and Solomon during this time. Sorry, I'm out of breath. The altitude here is killing me. This is incredible. You have to picture this. These are Levites. These are the priests. These are the people who worship God. They're in the northern area, the northern tribes. They're seeing what's happening, and they're like, I'm not going to stay here. I cannot be a part of this. They all gathered together and they traveled. They abandoned their pasture lands. That means their home. That means like what gives them security, their finances, their pasture lands. Basically, they left their jobs and they move and they travel all the way to Judah because they made a decision. I'm going to set my mind on seeking God. Like, can you imagine that? Everyone around them has like lost their convictions. Everyone around them is worshiping idols. Everyone around them is like literally, they lost their morals. And instead of conforming to what they've seen, they're like, I'm out of here. I can't be a part of this. I'm not gonna like lower my standards and conform just because everyone else has. And so they move and they make a decision. I'm gonna set my heart on doing things God's way. And the Bible says in verse 17, they strengthened the kingdom of Judah. So by them making a decision to move and do all of this and set their heart to seek God, they strengthened the kingdom, and it says, and they supported Rehoboam. Which leads to my first point. I only have 2 points today. My first point is set your heart on seeking God. Because it says that they set their heart to do that, and the result of that is that they strengthened the kingdom. You know what I love about these people is they could not be bought. Even if everyone around them just ditched the Bible, that wasn't what they were going to do. And to set your mind on seeking God, it's a deliberate decision. You don't accidentally get close to God. You know what I'm saying? Even if you have some quiet times, it doesn't mean you're close to God. Like some of us in here, I could tell you're not close to God just by looking at you. We have to make a decision to be deliberate, to prioritize our walk with God. Like it needs to be a priority if we set our minds. And we're going to look a little deeper into this. We're going to look at exactly what they did to help us make a decision to set our hearts on seeking God as well. Number one, it says they left the familiar. Their pasture lands, their homes, where they were working, where they were used to worshiping, they left it behind to go because they wanted to do whatever it took to remain faithful. When you set your heart on seeking God, you have to be willing to give up habits, entertainment, friendships, or even ambitions that can lead you away from God. And for these people, like for us, we got to ask ourselves, what are habits and what's this word? Unhealthy coping mechanisms that we can have that actually lead us away from God. You know what I'm saying? Like what an unhealthy coping mechanism is? It's the way you deal with things. And if we're not careful, everyone has it. Everyone has like an unhealthy habit. You know, for some of us, it's anger, and it's like our first reaction and the first thing we go to. Or it can be being defensive, you know, or it can be impurity, or it can be self-righteousness. It's whatever we lean back on that we're used to and that's familiar, and it's just our go-to, our reflex, the automatic thing. It could be fear, it could be being a coward. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? And I was thinking about this because these habits, literally, they take us away from God. They lead us away from God. And, you know, I think we have to understand when these coping mechanisms come out. And I think for me, they tend to come out when I feel pressure and when I'm overwhelmed. When there's like a lot, I'm like, whoa, what can be my go-to sometimes? It can be not with people, but with my husband. It can be isolation. Not because I don't want to be close to him in the moment, but when I feel overwhelmed, I turn inward. And when you turn inward and self-focus, you shut people out. Right? And so maybe not with sisters, but in my marriage, I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed. Not because I want to shut them out, but that is an unhealthy coping mechanism that I've carried, where it's hard to be vulnerable when I'm overwhelmed. And what happens when we do that? Like, okay, I shut him out, and then it hurts his feelings. That's not strengthening the kingdom. And then it leads me to, that's not me seeking God or seeking God's righteousness first. It's me seeking my own comfort and what I'm familiar first. And I really want to ask us today, what are you familiar with? What's your coping mechanism? Is it isolation? Do you turn inward as well? Do you shut people out? You know? Is it anger? Is it just rah? You know? I can struggle with anger too. But is that just the norm? And have we just thrown off righteousness and just and make excuses and just be like, hey, I felt a lot, you know? For some of us, if we're not careful, it's cussing. I hope there's no cussing here. But if we're not careful, just because you do it under your breath doesn't mean it's any less bad, you know? I think that can be an unhealthy thing that we do and a sin. Because we're feeling a lot. And then we don't seek God. We got to ask ourselves, what is familiar and what needs to go? If we want to be women who set our minds on seeking God. Secondly, it says they put worship above their convenience. You know, Jeroboam came, he started a whole new religion, and he made it very easy. It was a very easy religion. He was like, here's this, here's that, here's the gold to make your calves. Here, you know, here's this type of festival. And he just changed everything around to fit the people, to fit what would be easy for them. And these men, they didn't care about what was easy or popular. And I think in the same way, this is the world we live in. Our form of worship and religion, if we're not careful, we can want to be like that too. You know, in the world, come as you are and leave as you are. That's not what we do here in the kingdom. This is come as you are and it's change, not just leave as you are. And we gotta be careful that we don't adopt the same religiosity that the world has. You know, in the world, it's okay to live a double life in the kingdom. Here it's not. It's not okay to be here in the kingdom and act a certain way in front of disciples and act a totally different way with the world. Like, that's not godly, it's not the church, it's not the kingdom. And I mean, I would know because when I got baptized, this was 15 years ago, I wanted to bring these habits into the kingdom. And not just, I mean, there's so many. But when I became a Christian, I had to, like all of us, we had to change a lot, right? If you feel like you didn't have to change a lot, I wonder if I wonder what happened. But there's things we have to change. You must change to become a disciple. But if we're not careful, we change a little bit, and then we become disciples, and we just want to revert back to where we came from. And I think for myself, I had to change absolutely everything. I was extremely worldly, and for me, everything was new, but I tried that. I tried to live a double life in the kingdom. I brought my unrighteousness into the kingdom. And when I was at home with my parents, I was a certain person, and the minute I got around the kingdom, I was Miss Righteous. And I did that for a little bit, and then God just sorts you out. And God just exposes you, and he just throws you out there. You're like, oh, wow. And then you learn, don't do that. You cannot hide from God. But we got to understand what is normal in the world is not normal here. Just because the religious world just because they see each other once a week on Sundays does not mean it's okay for you to be like that here. We're not a church that just we only speak once a week. We're not a church who doesn't communicate with each other. That if you're sick, you don't share anything, you don't say anything, you go AWOL, you're MIA. It's like, where is this person? It's not the kingdom. That's the world. The world does that. And in the world, if they do that, they don't care. The world is okay with you not communicating. They're like, that's fine. But in the kingdom, it's totally different because we're family. And we really do care. I mean, if I didn't talk to Elijah, what? What kind of weird? That's extremely weird and neglectful. In the same way, we're family, and it's neglectful and strange when the family just doesn't speak to each other. And I understand that in the world, we come from different families. Everyone comes from some type of dysfunction. And I think we just got to get used to not listening to what the world says about Christianity because it's easier and convenient and all that kind of stuff. We got to not change Christianity to fit us, but change ourselves to fit what the Bible says. And the last thing is they surrounded themselves with others who were trying to seek God. They left where they were at to go be a part of a fellowship that was actually seeking God too. Who you hang around with and surround yourself with completely matters. And it's not just about who you hang out with, but do you even try to be with people? Or is there a culture of isolation and just wanting to be alone? I get it. Before I became a disciple, I didn't like being around people. I mean, I did around men, unfortunately, but not around women. I didn't like drama. So I brought drama, they brought drama. I was like, I don't need drama. But there's only drama because there's sin. But when you're a disciple, it doesn't have to be that. But I think we got to be careful not to be just coexist. Not to have a fellowship of just coexisting. And I'm not saying these things because this is what's happening. I'm saying these things because this is what happened here, and we want to protect the church from this. Do you isolate yourself? When you go through hard times, do you reach out? When you go through hard times, do you let people in your heart, in your life? Or you just figure out everything on your own? Are you just, the one woman mission team? It's just you and that's it. It's not the kingdom. And you're not gonna, they did this to stay faithful. So if you keep living like that, you will not stay faithful. But I know that I'm looking at a group of women who want to stay faithful, and a group of women who have set their hearts on seeking God, or else you wouldn't be here at Midweek tonight, right? My second and last point is set your heart on being supportive. It says it right here in verse 17. They strengthened the kingdom of Judah and supported Rehoboam. There's this quote by JFK. You guys have heard it many times. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. JFK said that. He's right. He was right. It's the same thing in the church. It's not about what can the church do for me. What can you do for the church? It's not just what can my discipler do for me? What can my leader do for me? What can my husband do for me? What can you do? How can you help? That's what supportive means. When you support, you come and you give, you come and you show up. It's not just showing up like this. That's the case, please. It's coming and being giving. It's being encouraging. And we're going to look at practicals of what that looks like. But if we're not careful, we can allow this attitude in the church. And we can come and just be like, I expect. And, but you didn't give. It was just expectation and expectation. Give me. But you didn't give. And that's not the heart of Jesus, and it can't be the heart that we have. What it looks like to be supportive. Number one, be supportive through your faithfulness. One of the best ways to be supportive is taking care of yourself spiritually. I guarantee that. If you disciple someone, right? If you're a leader, But everyone in the church should be a discipler, and everyone in the church should be a leader at some point. But there's nothing more supportive and cooperative than when you actually care about your spirituality. If you got to be someone that someone has to resuscitate every week, I'm not saying we're not going to do it. We love you. But what's going on? Why does it have to happen? We have to get to a mature and spiritual place where you are like, I care about how I'm doing spiritually. I'm not just going to care because my disciple is going to check up on me every week. I care. I really do. Through this transition, living with my parents for a month, the drive is crazy, being pregnant, all this kind of stuff. It's been a lot. And for a couple of days, my quiet times were there, but they were weak. And I'm not used to that. And I felt it. And I was like, and it's easy that when 3 days pass by and that happens, to want to all right, you can either get accustomed to it or you can wake up. And I think in this church, we got to be women who see it and just wake up. Let it be that you don't always have to be woken up, but you wake up yourself. Man, my quiet time it didn't hit the way it always does. I'm going to have a better one. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a plan. It's just being spiritually awake, spiritually alert, caring about your walk with God, caring about your prayer life. If you see that it's been lacking, if you see that it hasn't been awesome, are you okay with that? Is it it's just every week confessing, it's just okay. That's not okay. It's not okay for every week to, we're disciples of Jesus. Jesus. It should be my prayers are popping. I'm praying about you. My prayers are powerful. My reading time. Are you getting insight? Are you getting life when you read the scriptures? Is it invigorating your soul? Or is it just, I just read something. What if I called everyone up here one by one and like, preach your quiet time? Can you do that? Can you come up and be like, this is what I read? Boom, boom, boom. It should be like that every day. You should be able to preach something every day. If you're not able to do that, you didn't like grasp something from the Bible. And I just really want us to be aware, it's the Bible, the Word of God. It's what made us become disciples. It's what changed us. It shouldn't get weaker and weaker. We need to take care of ourselves spiritually. That is a way you can be extremely supportive. The second one is prayer. Let's go to Matthew 18. You know, I think we can underestimate the power of prayer. You know you underestimate it when you don't pray a lot. You know. But Matthew 18 in verse 19, Jesus says, again, truly I tell you that if two of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where there are 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them. Wow, so encouraging. You can be supportive through prayer to build up and strengthen the kingdom. Do you understand that? Do you pray for the plans of the church? Have you been praying to hit 100 by the end of the year? Do you pray for that stuff, or is that just an idea that Jason Woody has and he throws out here every Sunday and dreams about it? Or do you take on board what the leadership puts before you? Because the Bible says that if some gather together and they pray about the same thing, it's going to happen. So are we gathering together and praying about the same thing? Do you care if the church hits 100? Do you even care? That is, like, when we care about the plans of the church, you're being supportive. Do you pray about being a financially self-sustaining church? I pray about that every day. God, please help us to be financially sustained. Not for us to be secure financially, to put more people on staff. You know, I pray a lot for us to become a church one day that is so healthy financially that we can help other churches. That if Jason Dimitri needs something, bro, we got you. That if people are hurting, other church leaders from other churches, they could come into the Denver church, get put on staff, and get healthy again. That's my vision. That's the kind of church I want us to have. Do you pray that way about the church? Or are you only praying about yourself? Not that you shouldn't, please do. But is that all? Or do you barely pray? If you're not praying, you're not supportive. If you're not praying about the church, you're not supporting the church. Are you praying about missions? Are you praying about the sisters who are hurting, who are struggling? My challenge is have an awesome prayer list. Sometimes we don't pray about these things because we just don't know what to pray about. We're just like stagnant. We're just like, you know, we come into our prayers just like, duh. And I understand that. But if you come up with a powerful prayer list and you put these things that the church puts before you on it, you feel like you're a part of the church. You feel like you're actually invested in the church. And if you're not praying about these things, then you're not being supportive of the church. And I really want to call us to be supportive through our prayers. Thirdly, or whatever number this is, be encouraging, not critical. You know, this is big for me because, number one, I'm critical. Number two, I hate criticalness. But, you know, for me, growing up, I was just highly scrutinized, you know, by my family, to my hair, to my weight, to the way I spoke, to anything. There was so much criticality that I just grew up in a very critical environment where it's easy to just be like, wrong, no. And I just love Jesus' heart because when I became a disciple, I repented of that. Now, is it still there? Deep, of course. But I'm more critical of myself than anything. But I think when we carry a critical spirit, it just kills being supportive. You know, and the definition of supportive actually means to provide encouragement or emotional help. You can't provide encouragement if you're always looking down on people. You can't provide encouragement if you're always judging people. And you can't encourage people if you only look at their flat sides. You know, how can we be encouraging and not critical? Well, look at people's strength. Like, have the ability to just look at someone and say they're awesome, and not just like they're just scrutinize everything about them. You know, I read this book. This book's really awesome. It's a leadership book by John Maxwell. It says, when you walk into a room, just picture everyone with a 10 on their head. Everyone's a 10. Everyone's awesome. Everyone's powerful. Everyone has incredible strengths. If everyone's a 10, you're going to treat them like that. But if you walk in a room and you're like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I mean, come on. No. Not only are you going to treat them like that, but they will become that. Because you will speak to them like that. We need to speak up to people, encourage people, make people feel awesome. Because I know when people probably hang around with Jesus, they probably left like, wow. And if we follow Jesus, people should be like that around us too. They should be like, man, that was so encouraging. And encouraging doesn't mean you don't disciple people. Disciple them, please, but be encouraging about it. Disciple them, give them vision and give them faith. Don't just like throw out there everything they have to change, but end it with, I know you can do it, sis, you're awesome. And give them faith. Be encouraging, not critical. Secondly, remember, you have flaws too. This is what helps us be encouraging. We're all flawed. We all have weaknesses. We need encouragement too. But we're not perfect, you know, and on Sunday, Jason's going to reveal like the new D tree. Some of it will be the same. Some of it might change. But I really want to encourage us to be encouraging with whoever's going to disciple you, not critical towards them. And be encouraging if you need to disciple someone, not critical about the fact that you're being asked to help, you know. Have a critical eye, not a critical heart. You have a critical eye, not a critical heart when you don't judge and when you don't assume someone's motives. It's easy to do that. It's easy to be like, I just feel like she doesn't like me because I saw that she didn't say hi to me, and we came up with the whole narrative. A whole story just happened. It's like, what? Sis, that didn't happen. But we do that. We come up with scenarios. We're human. It happens. I'm just saying, let's try not to make it a habit. Let's not make it who we are, that every time we see someone, no. Let's not make up these scenarios. Let's trust people's hearts. How about we assume this? We're all loved. How about we just assume that everyone likes us? And how about we like everyone? Let's do that. You know, Rehoboam, he wasn't a great king. It was because of his lack of advice and pride that the kingdom was torn away. Yet, the Levites still came and supported him. So they were able to see his flaws and still support him as king. Because the other kings lost their conviction, Rehoboam still had him, but he was flawed. There's a difference. And I think here, you're going to see your husband's flaws, support him and love him anyway. He sees yours. You know, our roommates, our leaders, the people we disciple, the people who disciple us, all of it. But let's just be supportive and let's strip away any criticality from our hearts. Lastly, what can help? Express gratitude. Isn't it awesome when someone's just grateful for you? Don't we love good news sharing? I want to lift up this sister. I want to lift up her. And then we're just like, aw. And when we hear good news about other people, doesn't it encourage you too? Yeah. Gratitude. We should get used to, and it should be simple to express gratitude. I think sometimes when we harbor a lot of pride, we're not. We don't express it. And we're not expressive. And we want, like, people to earn it or something. No, that's not godly. I really want to challenge this group. Be grateful and express your gratitude daily. Wow, imagine we were filled with encouragement daily. First of all, the Bible says that. Encourage one another daily. So imagine we followed the Bible and did that. We'd be so much more encouraged. And we'd be happy. You know, how else can we be encouraging? being giving, when you show up, be giving. To just show up to midweek or Sundays and meetings of the body and just sit there and half fall asleep and to just sit there and just with a little stinky face, it's not the best, right? It's not the best. Do you want visitors to come in, and do you want people to be a part of the kingdom? If you don't, you shouldn't be in this church. But do you want people to be a part of the kingdom? So if a visitor comes in and he looks at the kingdom and everyone's just like, are you inspiring them to be a disciple? Do you think they want to study the Bible with you? No. They want to study the Bible with someone who's happy to be a disciple. Someone who's happy to be in the kingdom, not someone who got dragged here. And I'm not saying anyone did, but if you did, that needs to change. Because our attitude is not just a reflection of ourselves here. Like, we're trying to bring people into the kingdom. So let's be a supportive kingdom with a smile, with a come on, sis, just something, giving. When I was in the world, man, I was expressive. When I was in the world, when you want to get close to an interest, I'm not in the kingdom. When I wanted to get close to someone, what they liked, I liked. Okay, I gotta drive over there, let's go. But somehow, and we were like that, some of us, and then we come into the kingdom, we're just like, where'd all that enthusiasm go? It was gone. But if you went back to the world, I'd bet you'd be enthusiastic again. We really got to check our hearts and see, like, is God there? Like, do you want to express things for God? Lastly, about being supportive is we need to all participate in the work. When everyone is involved, man, that's supportive and it strengthens the church. When everyone's involved, when it's not just a couple of people doing the work. Serving, when everyone serves. Like when Women's Days comes around, when baby showers come around, where it's not just like one person like doing everything, but everyone's like, how can I help? What can I do? Because we're family. I'm gonna need one later. Just kidding. Are you willing to serve? If like the kingdom needs everyone here. If you needed to disciple someone, would you be willing to do that? Or would you be extremely insecure and selfish and be like, no, that's too much? It's not supportive. Because then we only lean on a couple of sisters who always say yes, and then they're like choking and dying over here because they're doing everything, and everyone else is just like showing up. That's not how it works. That's not how it should work in the kingdom. Everyone should be involved. Everyone should be willing to step up and help, willing to disciple someone, willing to change whatever needs to be changed. Maybe you need to not disciple someone. For someone else to grow in that area and have a shot, would you be okay with that too? There's just so many things, so many ways that we can be supportive. And it's going to take sacrifice. Are you willing to give missions? If there's a plan and after Devo, the brothers are like, man, let's go, fellas, let's go to In-N-Out. Are you like, let's go, I'm supportive. I'm going to join the fellowship. Or is it like, I'm out? Devo's over, I showed up, I did my thing, bye. Okay. I can tell you right now, that's not supportive. We want to be a group of women that when the brothers give direction, we're like, absolutely. I have your back. People want to date, but you can't be supportive. It's crazy. You'll know one day. The married women know. One of the best things you can do is be supportive to your husband. They need it. They thrive off of it. And we got to be women who, it doesn't matter if you're married, single, dating, like, that's our heart. We are married to Jesus, so let's support the church. I think that if we do this in the church, the Denver church is going to be known as a church that strengthens people. That's what I want the Denver church to be. I want it to be a church that strengthens other churches, strengthens each other. Not a church that has continually either been weak or needed like help. Let's be a church that now we're the helpers. We're the ones that give. We're the ones that help. We're the ones that support. It's time. And God needs every single one of you. I don't care if you think that you won't make a difference. You absolutely will. You not doing these things makes a difference. We need everyone in here. And that's my vision for the church. That we all make a decision that we're going to set our hearts to seek God with all of our heart, get rid of any sin and bad habit and unhealthy coping mechanism that is blocking us from seeking God, and that we're all changing any criticality and turning it into such a great support for our brothers, sisters, each other, household, marriage, all of it. That's my vision for the church, and I hope it's the vision that you guys have as well. Thank you so much for letting me share.